Hey there, Josh here. Time to continue the So You Want to Build a Gundam series. This time, So You Want to Detail a Gundam. But, you see right here how this is done. The legs on this is the RX-178 Mark II Gundam version 2.0. It's not the new one that just came out, that high quality or whatever with the better stickers, supposedly. This is just the run-of-the-mill, everyday one. Now you see right here, I went ahead and there's quite a bit of detail I added to this, especially considering if you look at the palm right here, the blue of the fingers is the color that all of this normally is. Now this right here would still be white. This right here would still be white. This would actually be yellow instead of this gold, and none of this copper color would be there either. Also did some work in the chest area, detailing it out. The key, what I used to do all of this is just plain old dry brushing. Now, this model kit right here is the Zeta Plus C1 from, hang on a second, from Gundam Sentinel. And even though it's not quite as detailed as this leg, there is still an amazing amount of detail in it. But being it is all just one color, it's very hard to pick out anything. So what we will be doing is detailing the inside of all this right here today. Okay, so I've finally got this thing stripped completely, and you can kind of see right there just how much detail there is. So you're saying, well, it's already black. Why are you going to paint it black on top of the black? It gives a more uniform look, I find, rather than just painting over the plastic. So you're just going to take and make sure you get it down in all the nooks and crannies, because that is where it's really going to be apparent that the black is going to be. It's not, most likely you're going to hide almost all of this black you're putting on, so you might think you can just, do it halfway, but this is the foundation. This is what everything builds off of right here. So you want to do everything that you do to the best of your abilities, because that way you don't have to look back at something and say, well, I probably could have done that better. If you do your best, that's the best you can do. Here is the painted one. You see it's got a nice, like I said, kind of a satin finish. And in comparison, the unpainted one, it looks, plasticky. This this right here, I'd say is already an improvement over this, even before we do any of the dry brushing. Next thing we'll need is a silver paint. You might want to watch whenever you're selecting silver paint, because of course, like all colors, there are different shades. This is mithril silver. This is very, very silver. And then they have this that's called bolt gun metal, which is a more toned down, kind of a dull silver. And this one right here I find is a lot better, because it just looks more natural than just a super, super bright silver on this thing. Because basically what this is going to do is make it look semi-dirty. And if it was super, super shiny, And then you had some nasty looking stuff. It's like it wouldn't seem right because it would seem like that would be a little bit dirty and it wouldn't shine like that. So anyway, got a little bit of silver paint on the brush now, and you're just going to take a cloth or something and wipe it down until you're hardly getting anything on the cloth. Like you see down here is where I started, and gradually just working up to where there's hardly anything coming off of it. And I'm trying to work where y'all can see. I'm sorry if I'm out of frame, but you're just going to just gently brush like that. And it doesn't take much to make a big, big difference. Like that right there compared to this side, already it's really starting to make it pop. But I'm going to go ahead and just do some more here. And there's nothing hard about this, it's just time consuming. Change camera angles a little bit here. Well, this right here is pretty much finished with the dry brushing. And in comparison, you can see just how much of the depth it brings out. It exaggerates the depth of the details. So everything ends up looking more bold. So that's all well and good. We could stop here. But why don't we see if we can bring a little bit more life to it. Okay, so now we're going to try and bring out some more of the detail in here and just make it look believable. I just like to think that everything inside looks a little interesting. What I kind of like is, if you noticed on this one, I added a lot of copper detailing to it. I like the silver and copper together. So let's just do this right here just for comparison, just to show how this looks together. So you've got that, and that is very sharp looking. Let's see, what else would look good in here? Copper. So now we've got all this done right here. We've got the 10 bits contrasting with the silver, and let's go ahead and just a very, very tiny bit of dry brushing left to do once now this is dry. That the 10 bits has had a little bit of time to dry, we're going to come back with a little bit more of the, they call this color dwarf bronze, I'm sorry. And we're just going to dry brush just a tiny little bit. What we're going to do is everywhere we put some of the 10 bits, we're just going to barely give it a little bit, just to give it a little bit of highlight, just on the edges, because everything else on here looks all weathered. If that wasn't a little bit weathered at least, it wouldn't look right. That looks nice. Alright, so now we are done with that. Let's go ahead and start putting some of the armor back on this. And a lot of what we just did will end up getting covered up, but that's a necessary evil, just because if we were trying to detail around this stuff, we'd always have a little line around the edge where we were trying not to touch that. So it's better to detail stuff you're not going to see and end up with a very nice looking dry brush job than to just try and save yourself the time of stripping it down, because we would not have gotten a result like this that clean next to that white if we hadn't. a lot of my thinking whenever I'm detailing these guys is that the outside, all the armor and that is constantly getting beat up badly, probably getting resprayed, replaced, whatever. The inside bits, the stuff that would be harder to replace, is going to show more wear, more grime. That's why I spend so much time on that whenever I do this. Alright, and here are the two legs reassembled. Oh wait, let me turn this to where you're looking at the same aspects. You can really see just how much it brings out. Now this is still stripped. I'm not planning on displaying this model stripped. I just did this right here just as a tutorial video. But because this right here is now painted, I'm going to have to go ahead and paint these, the vents inside also. That is pretty much the only part that will show once the armor is put on.